Each of our insiders now is focused on the impact of the COVID-19 coronavirus on different organizations in our community. Hello and welcome to this week's Insider. I'm Lisa Adams, and today we're going to be talking about Erie's public schools and how they are working to move education for all their students online for the foreseeable future. My guest today is Superintendent of Erie's Public Schools, Brian Polito, who is coming to us over our stand-in. Hi, Brian.
Good morning.
And I also want to say welcome to you who are watching us at home or listening to us over the radio. Now, when this crisis began and schools first closed, did you and your staff think that an online delivery system for education was possible and something that you'd have to consider?
It was certainly something that we started considering immediately, but we do have a lot of challenges in the city with both access to devices and internet. So that's one thing that we started working on immediately as we looked at the possibility of doing this transition.
This points out something you've been talking about for a long time that has to do with equity in funding and resources that some other districts might have that made this transition or is making this transition easier. So talk a little bit about poverty, the uneven access to technology, maybe some of the English as a second language families where there are some challenges there if parents don't even speak English. So talk a little bit about how those are the things you deal with all the time, but man, they're really a factor when it comes to this.
Yeah, thanks. We actually have a very high poverty rate here in the city compared to the surrounding school districts. In addition, we have the highest concentration of English language learner students at about 8% right now, and that includes families from 36 different countries speaking about 31 different languages. And in addition, our special ed population is high, which, again, as we start to think about moving online or remote, presents some pretty big challenges for us. And as you mentioned earlier, our funding has been well publicized compared to other school districts across the state, and in the region we are still underfunded despite the addition of $14 million a year. So that does present us some challenges as far as being able to provide technology. I know a lot of the school districts in the area have one-to-one initiatives where each of their students have their own iPad or Chromebook. That's just something that we have not been able to afford at this point.
So when this went from, what if we might have to do this, to a mandate from the governor to get this started, he made that announcement on the 30th of March. Talk about how that changed and how maybe some of the partners that are already involved in the Community Schools Initiative and so on are helping you to get those Chromebooks out to families that don't have technology.
Sure. We were actually fortunate enough that the 2 days before school closed down, we did put out a survey among all our students and staff just to get a sense for how big of a challenge we had. And we determined that as far as our student population, there was probably about 900 families that either didn't have access to a device or access to the internet. Unfortunately, when we did that survey, we didn't get data. We didn't actually get the actual names and addresses of those families. So we had to subsequently actually put in a call center to have the families contact us directly. First of all, let us know if they did need a device so that we could try to distribute those. And second, let us know whether or not they had internet access. And when we looked at our device inventory, we could handle distributing 900 Chromebooks to our families. That's not going to be an issue for us as far as what we have in stock. The internet, though, creates another pretty big challenge for us. So that right now we are continue to receive calls from our families. Our hope is that as they call in, we'll be able to identify different internet deserts. We like to call it in the city, areas that have a high concentration of people that don't have that access, and we're working right now with some of our partners like VelocityNet to try to get some Wi-Fi hotspots into those areas so that those families do have access.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up, but we do have a phone number that people can call for the school district IT department if they find themselves in this circumstance where they don't have a device to help their kids once this starts on the 20th of April, or they do have an IT issue. So let's take a look at that information as we talk here. And when you say 900 families didn't have the technology, that means even more students, right? Because there might be multiple students in a family.
That's right. And so what we're trying to do is, try to provide. We're not going to provide devices for every student in a household, but if there's two students, we may end up providing one device for the household. If there's more than two, we may be considering providing two, just to make sure that there's enough devices for the students to work on their assignments during the day.
And I think the total number of students enrolled in Erie's public schools is 11,500. So the percent that need assistance through this process is about what?
It's about 10%.
So since we did this as a regular news story about a week or so ago, are you getting families calling in and getting them to come in and pick up these Chromebooks in a safe social distancing way? How's that going?
We continue to receive the phone calls. Again, if families are trying to call in, I just ask that they're patient. We have 4 people answering the phones from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock each day, but the call volume is pretty high at this point. And also want to assure families that, if you're not getting through, just to keep calling. We are not going to shut this down until we are certain that all the families have had an opportunity to call in and let us know that they need a device. For the distribution.
Okay, I think we're going to take a break here, and we're going to come back and talk about access and that thought on distribution. Again, the Wi-Fi access is a problem too. So more on that when the Insider returns. I'm Lisa Adams. Welcome back again to the Insider. If you're watching or listening to us over the radio, my guest is Superintendent of Erie's Public Schools, Brian Polito, and we are talking about getting Erie's Public Schools ready to take instruction to an online platform, and that begins on the 20th of April. So you were just about to say how people are able to pick up their Chromebooks and do it in a safe way. Are you setting times for a family to get them?
Yes, we're scheduling appointments. The pickup point is going to be at Erie High in the back of the building by the loading dock. We are taking all the information over the phone that we need to keep track of which device goes to which family. And when the families call in, they're going to need their student's ID number so that we can assure that it's one of our students. When we do have that information in place, then the person taking the call actually gives the parent the serial number of the Chromebook that they're going to pick up. So what we're asking families to do is when they pull up to the building, they need to have that serial number on a piece of paper that they can hold up, and then we'll go grab the corresponding Chromebook and pass it through to the family through the car door.
And is the Chromebook set up already as a school tool, the Google platform that you're using, Google Classroom, all set up for them to make it user-friendly and also restrict where kids shouldn't be able to go on the internet and so on?
Absolutely. We do have all the restrictions in place that we would during the school day. The Google Classroom is actually a web-based program, so they'll just need to move over to our website to access that. We're right now in the process of updating our website to just make that access much easier for the students and families. It'll be right on the home page. We're also creating another student portal that they can go into actually get into Google classrooms, as well as have a list of FAQs if they're having any problems with the program or anything else. We also will have up there the IT email address and phone number. So again, if there is any issues, they can call in and get those addressed very quickly.
So you referenced in our first segment then these connectivity issues, dead spots perhaps for some people who don't have Wi-Fi or internet access. So talk a little bit about how you are approaching that. It's my understanding that you're opening up access outside of your own school buildings. That's one tool.
Right. We did actually, we started to provide longer range antennas on our buildings to hopefully reach into the neighborhoods around our all 16 of our school buildings. Again, initially we were looking at probably providing hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots to all our families that did not have access, and the Erie County Gaming Authority was kind enough to step up and say that they would fund that initiative for us, but we quickly found that there are no hotspots to be found right now. They're on back order until May, so we had to look at different options. And so right now, the best option we see is working with VelocityNet. They received some grant funding through the Innovation District to expand free Wi-Fi across the city. And that grant is actually focused on the opportunity zones. So we're looking to jump on that program and actually continue to expand not only in the opportunity zones, but in, again, those areas across the city that we identify as internet deserts, so that those families can access that system and continue to do their schoolwork.
And that was something they were already working on as part of the Smart City initiative, so this just helps expand that. But talk a little bit about the timetable. Are they going to be able to have what you need by the 20th so that there's equal access for all these kids?
I don't think we can guarantee 100% coverage by the 20th, but again, I've been told that those antennas can go up very quickly once we identify the areas. We will have a good handle on that the week before the 20th, so that'll give us at least a week to start addressing those areas. We also will continue to look at families on a case-by-case basis. So, we're hoping to get most of the families through that initiative, but certainly there's going to be a handful of other families that we're going to have to look to other options. And again, it's really going to be on a case-by-case basis. So, again, I would just strongly encourage any family that is having issues with internet access to call our IT number so that we can start to find a solution.
And we'll be putting that IT number up again at the end of the show. I just wanted to ask you how you're advising families to protect them against congregating if they are using the Wi-Fi outside of a school building. What's the advice that you're giving people there about social distancing and face coverings and so on?
Yes, we continue to encourage the social distancing and other recommendations that Governor Wolf and County Executive Kathy Dahlkemper have been pushing. Again, we don't think that that's a permanent solution to just have Wi-Fi access around our buildings, because we don't want families to congregate there. It's our hope that by, again, putting up stronger a signal around the buildings, that we'll be able to reach out a little bit into those neighborhoods, so we don't have a congregation of people pulling up to our parking lots to gain access.
And we know it's not going to be all-day school like it was before, and when we come back we're going to talk a little bit more about the delivery system of Google Classroom and what's expected of teachers and students. That's next. I'm Lisa Adams. Welcome back to The Insider. If you're watching or listening to us over the radio, my guest again is Superintendent of Erie's Public Schools, Brian Polito, and we're talking about getting Erie's public schools ready to take instruction to an online platform that's beginning on the 20th of April. So talk about how this is going to work, Brian. It's not a full day of classes by any means, but it is interactive to some degree.
It is, and we we really are focusing on more of a project-based approach for this last quarter. We know that it's going to be a challenge for students and families to log on every day, and we're not looking at this as requiring assignments to be handed in daily or daily attendance being taken. We're developing each of the buildings based on where they were at when we had to close school, or developing the standards they'd like to teach through the end of the school year, and the specific projects by grade level or department that they'd like the students to complete. And this is more of a pass-fail type approach as well. So we just want to encourage our students to complete all the projects, and if they do that, they will be credited for attending that last quarter and receive a passing grade.
So what's really expected of students here? I mean, are they going to have to be keeping up on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and how can their parents help them out with that part of things?
Yeah, it's going to vary, but we don't want to require those daily type approaches, because we want to build in a lot of flexibility for this last quarter, because we know everybody's circumstances are a little different, and we want to remove barriers to actually succeeding in this last quarter. So they will get a list of projects that they'll need to work through. Each of our teachers will have office hours during the day, virtual office hours, where students or families can contact them and ask questions via email. And again, we're looking to encourage all our families to do this. It is mandatory, and our teachers will be reaching out to all their students to encourage them and help them move forward.
You have a couple of superstars on your staff, I know, that are working on making this happen, Teresa Zumagala and Karen Ryan. So talk about how they're helping teachers make the transition, and maybe the sophistication of the delivery, what's age appropriate. I mean, maybe what's going on in an elementary school is different than what's going on at, say, Collegiate Academy, where kids have been taking AP courses and preparing for AP tests.
Yeah, we both Teresa and Karen did a great job of pulling this plan together. Also, give Angie Kanaki, she's our Director of Pupil Services, her and her team really taking the program that is being developed by the regular ed teachers and modifying that so that all our special ed teachers also have appropriate access and continue their education as well. Again, this is going to be a very flexible approach, so we want to focus on those projects and make sure that we continue to have our families and students work through those so that they can receive credit for this last quarter.
We know it's important for kids to maintain education in some way over the summer months. You certainly have had summer school in years past. So how important is it in this time? I mean, we're all living through this challenge to keep at least something going for these students so they're ready for next year. And what about summer school then if they seem like they didn't keep up very well?
Right now, we do plan to have some type of summer program, especially for those students that were unable to complete their assignments, the fourth quarter assignments in the time allotted this year. So we would like to do something like that. We don't know what it's going to look like because we're not sure at that point whether or not we'll be able to have face-to-face instruction. So it may be another online type approach for our summer programming.
Well, there are lots of questions too, I know, about the social side of what kids are missing at school, prom, sports, graduation. We're going to touch on those things when we come back. Stay with us. I'm Lisa Adams. Welcome back again to The Insider. For those watching or listening on the radio, we're talking with Brian Polito, Superintendent of Erie's Public Schools, about going online with all instruction by April 20th. So obviously your main mission is instruction and getting that going for now, but talk a little bit about the other dimensions of school that are suspended or in question right now. Plans for proms and graduation, for example. What can you tell us about what the administration is thinking about those things?
We haven't made any final decisions on prom or graduation. I know we have been receiving a lot of questions, certainly from students and families about that. It's my plan at this point, once we have instruction going on the 20th, to really start tackling those challenges. I really would like to get the students involved in that process. We do need to find a way to celebrate, especially our seniors' success through graduation, and give them an opportunity to at least socialize distantly at the end of this school year. We have a spirit council that consists of students from all three of our high school campuses, and I will be looking to them to help us really develop a plan for what that'll look like.
We know that the social side of school is far more than just that, especially if students are involved in music or theater, and maybe that's a vocational direction for them, or athletics and scholarships are on the line for them. So how are you handling those kinds of things right now as kids think through their futures?
We're still waiting for some guidance from the state on some of those issues, like graduation, like the student, as far as the student athletes, the PIAA and NCAA, I'm certain are going to come out with some guidance on that. I would just again stress that ask the families to be patient as we receive that guidance. We will get that out to them as soon as we can.
And are you still helping students through the process of their college applications and so on? Is that stuff that can be done even though students and faculty are at home?
Yes, and actually the building principals are working with all our faculty that aren't classroom teachers to develop a plan for them to continue to do what they do remotely. Certainly it's going to look a little different than what it has in the past, but we certainly are going to continue to do everything we can do to make sure that our especially our seniors, they graduate and get those opportunities for post-secondary education.
We're down to about the last minute here, so we do want to put those phone numbers back up on the screen and just remind us, if people have any issues, they should reach out to your IT department for Chromebook or technical problems.
That's correct. Again, I encourage anybody that has a device or internet access issues to please call that number. Certainly it's going to be busy for the first couple days as they work through the families that are calling in. But again, I just ask that families be patient and keep trying. We will get to everyone and make sure we have access provided to all our families across the city.
And I want to point out that other number on the bottom of the screen and that other email address, epshealth@eriesd.org and 870-6090. That's the email address for questions and the phone number for just general information on everything that's going on.
That's correct. We have a separate call center set up right now for those type of general questions, and parents or students can call that number or email that address with any questions that are not related to IT or internet access.
All right, Superintendent Polito, thank you so much for being with us and catching us up on how this is going to work. Best wishes for April 20th. And thank you for joining us. As always, if you have an idea you'd like me to explore, just email me at ladams@wicu12.com, and join us again next time for The Insider.